Okay, this video is actually very important to you as a new private lender, so pay close attention. I'm gonna start with a story. Now, I have had several people come to me and, they understand the power of private lending. They're super excited about it, but they feel like it's a lot of work. And even though they have a large amount of money just sitting and ready to be invested or ready to grow faster, they don't personally want to do that. And so they come to me, they sneak in my DMs, they pull me aside and they say, hey, I got this money over here. Can I just give it to you and you can lend it out for me? Now, as tempting as this may sound, because, you may be thinking I could charge a fee on top of it, blah, blah, blah. I don't even have to have the capital and I can make money. It's almost like wholesaling private loans, and just slow your roll. Okay, let's get into it. And I actually took some extensive notes on this in terms of just my reasons why I don't do this and why I never ever recommend this. So you may see me glancing to the side to look at my notes, but I just want to make sure that I'm giving you the full reasons why it's a no for me. Okay. So, first of all, I just want to acknowledge that this is really tempting, and I understand that. I understand that using OPM to make money is exciting, but lending is a very particular space and it has very particular risks. So I just want to emphasize that I do not recommend that you lend other people's money on their behalf. And I'm talking about direct lending here. If you run a fund or you're doing a syndication or something, that's a totally different ballgame. I'm talking about your friend, family member, colleague, whatever, wires you money from their account and asks you to directly lend it out. That's what I'm talking about. And that is what I'm saying is a no for me. Now, first reason, the legal implications. Of course, I will start there. I'm a lawyer, okay? What can I say? Now, the legal implications are enough for me to say no, because if you are now lending money for someone else, you're essentially managing a fund on their behalf. And there can be some inadvertent consequences of that, right? That can position you as an investment advisor or a fund manager when that's not what you intended. And that can trigger certain securities laws or violations, depending on how you're doing it. And I just don't want that for you, right? So many people have gone to jail for violating securities laws and owed a lot of money, paid a lot of penalties, and it's just not worth it. Securities laws tend to be complex to understand and navigate. There are actual lawyers who this is their work. Like, they are securities lawyers. They advise on these things. This is their bread and butter. And I am not one of those people. And I don't particularly enjoy reading, analyzing, and trying to understand securities laws personally. So just know that there may be certain licenses and compliance requirements to lend out that person's money under securities laws that you are not aware of. So that's the first reason why I do not recommend that. The second reason is just from a fiduciary perspective. Now, fiduciaries or people with fiduciary duties have certain duties, and these usually pertain to a duty of loyalty, a duty to avoid conflicts of interest, and essentially it's just the duty to do right by the client. Now, that basically means that if you mismanage their money, or if you make a decision that is maybe more profitable for you or more beneficial to you than to them, and ends up damaging them or damaging their money, then that can subject you to legal liability. And the legal consequences can be dire. I mean, that can be financial in nature. It can be I don't want to say criminal, but I'm not really sure. But you don't want to end up having fiduciary responsibilities that you did not sign up for. You're basically not wanting to be responsible for how that turns out, because if you think about it, like what if someone's giving you their money to lend, now you're doing the due diligence, you're vetting the borrower, you're vetting the transaction, all that's on you. And if you mess up or if that deal goes sideways, best believe they're gonna come for you, okay? I don't care how friendly you are, how familiar you are, when their money is involved, things can seem all good and great and buttery on the front end, but it's gonna get real cut and dry if you lose their money. So you don't want that fiduciary responsibility. Another thing is just logistically and operationally, it's not a good look. It just seems like too much work. I mean, do you have the infrastructure in place to manage someone else's money? Do you have the systems to be compliant with the laws that govern this space? What kind of reporting mechanisms do you have in place for this? They may want updates every so often, or maybe certain updates are required by law because now you've triggered certain rules. Like, do you want that smoke? Are you set up that way? Or are you a solopreneur running your private lending business on your own? Do you get what I'm saying? So this can be a resource intensive thing if you're lending other people's money, and just think about, like, do I have the infrastructure and setup to actually handle this in an appropriate way? Those are my main reasons. Another reason, honestly, just like my deep truth is just, I don't want to, no. Like, it took me time and energy and focus to learn how to operate in this space at the level that I do. And I haven't even been in this space for like a decade. You know what I'm saying? I'm not even a pro in the private lending space at this time. So I had to put in work to learn what I know and to be able to do what I do. And just the idea that I'm just gonna take your money and do it for you. I'm too busy lending out my own money. Do I even have time for that? I don't want to. So that's another piece of it. And I just feel like when people ask me to lend out their money, I almost feel like they don't respect the space, because they want to get the most for the least. Like, they want to get all the profits, but they don't want to do any of the work. And I'm not down. If I'm going to do a transaction with someone in terms of splitting the revenue or something, we going to be both in there. We both doing a due diligence. We are both asking questions. We're both filing documents and drafting things. We're in this together. I'm not going to take on all the work for someone else, even if they're letting me take profit off the top. I get my own profit. I don't need their profit. So that's why it's a no for me. Of course, you can do what you want to do. I can't stop you. I'm not giving you any advice either way, but I'm just telling you why it is a complete no for me and why I will never recommend that someone do this for someone else. Of course, absent a compliant fund formation or some other structure where you're actually set up to lend other people's money.